Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty, and we're carrying on our best of 2022. Yes, there hasn't been many reviews this week. I'm afraid we've had some stuff happening in the shop. It's been a pain in the neck to deal with. We have a leak above our manga section. It's gotten worse over the week. I've had to move stuff out of the way. There's 5 different receptacles on the floor to catch the leak as it's going through until we figure out how to stop it. The only thing I've read to review has been the new Mark Millar Vampire comic book, which is okay, but he spends half the comic book describing what vampires are. That pretty much tells you everything you need to know about the comic book as far as I'm concerned, so less said about that the better. Instead, we're going to talk about Mindset. This is one of the Vault comic books that I read and love, and I do enjoy quite a lot of the Vault put out. It's not like a universal thing, but it's rare that I don't at least find their stuff interesting and entertaining. More than not, I absolutely love it. They've had their stuff on my best of year lists since I've been reading them, and due to what happened in issue 5, because it's still not quite finished yet, there's one issue to go, the twist in the tale actually pushes up a couple of points. Now, I'm not going to spoil said twist for you. That's not what I want to do in these reviews. But I am going to tell you about the story. Simply because it's that which actually grabbed hold of me more than just the overtly creative side. Yes, it was well written. The dialogue is whip smart and it really engaged with the characters. And it sets up a brilliant world. And yes, the artwork is fantastic. It reminds me of Martin Simmons in a way which I absolutely adore. But it is the story and the setting that really, really helped get me involved. Because it is talking about like the direct correlation between the wellness industry and capitalism, and those are two things which interest me generally. I'm quite anti-capitalist, and I find reading about this kind of stuff interesting. And weirdly, due to some random stuff, I looked into stuff on the wellness industry a while ago, mostly looking at how it is a massive capitalist multi-billion-dollar industry, but also how it's fallen into a couple of problematic areas, cultural appropriation being one that has had quite a lot of academic writing done on the subject, and that interests me quite a lot, and also how it's fallen into conspiracy theories, and that is not quite as interesting academically, but it kind of shows like a way of thinking. If and this is not to like paint the entire wellness industry or everyone who's involved in it or everyone is an adherent to it, but as an overarching kind of thing, there's an idea that it's doing stuff which is not like medically what's the word phrase I'm looking for, medically approved, and it's not a great leap then to think if you're going stuff which is against what the medicine industry tells you, maybe they're lying to you, and then it's not a great leap to go to the vaccine skepticism, and with what's happened in the past couple of years as well, we are seeing that leap then going to, if the medicine industry is lying to you, then the government are people who are the ones who are telling them what to say, so they must be lying as well. And it's gone down a pretty dark path. And again, this is not to paint the entire industry with a brush, but the capitalist side of it and the cultural appropriation side of it, those are a bit more solidly interesting to me anyway. And this really engages with that quite nicely by starting from a point of view of, what if it was a good guy trying to make changes in this industry? And the good guy in this case is a group of friends who are tech bros, Silicon Valley kids, who managed to discover something amazing which can actually change the way people think, and by using an app could actually make them better. It has the possibility to make positive changes for them. This is a great little idea. I love the fact that this might actually be a thing that works. And it is investigating the idea of the the moral billionaire, and it's an interesting idea. In comic books, we kind of accept with a superhero fantasy, people like Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark are billionaires, but they're the good billionaires. I mean, in one of the Iron Man movies, we had a very much a tech bro alternate version of what Tony Stark could have been, and it's interesting to see that kind of take on it. And in the comic books, even there's been a bit of a push to see what they would be like if they weren't actually billionaires. What would they still be able to do? Would they still believe in what they believed? How effective would they be? As if like, well, they couldn't do what they did unless they were billionaires. But is there such a thing as an ethical billionaire? And this because we're starting in a position where the intent was to do good. We then see them falling into this capitalist trap. They're trying to find money to basically get what they're doing out there, and they are speaking to investors and become part of the tech bro kind of industry. And it's a really nice look at how much people are willing to lie to themselves and each other to justify what they're doing. And it does show quite a nice progression of character throughout. There's no just one moment of like, well, now we've got to do evil if we want to be rich. It just shows like how tempting it is This idea that with the right connections and the right abilities, you could become one of the ultra wealthy. But there is like stuff that gets in the way of that, and are you willing to do what's necessary to push past those barriers? It doesn't come across from a point of view specifically of these people are evil because they've gone this route, but with the twists in the tail that we're going to be getting to in the last, the penultimate issue, it really shows that there is no easy answer. Just be like, I'm going to do this and be good. I like these kind of moral quizzes. I like the idea that you need to be asking yourself these kind of questions and thinking about it. What would you be willing to do? What would you be willing to sacrifice? We talked about sacrifice before in other comic book reviews, and in this one it really, really hits home. And it also, unlike a lot of the other is there such things as ethical billionaire stories in comic books, this one doesn't feel comic booky. It isn't Batman and Iron Man. It's just a bunch of guys who, yes, there's a bit of sci-fi jiggery-pokery, but for the most part they just figure out a way to do good, and this is a story of how that can be twisted by capital. I actually wish I had a bit more time to speak to them about this kind of thing and see what their thoughts on it were. I got very quick little ideas that I was on the right track with them, but I say they had a very, very busy table. It absolutely hits me exactly where I live for this kind of thing. But you're probably thinking to yourself, but Shorty, we don't care about this stuff in the way that you do. Why is this still on your best of the year list? Well, it's because Zach Kaplan is an absolutely fantastic writer. His dialogue is, as I said, whip smart. He absolutely uses language in ways which are compelling and interesting and naturalistic enough that it feels like I'm overhearing other people's conversation rather than watching something scripted. It feels like these are actual genuine people experiencing things, and their reactions to it are authentic and down to earth and grounded. The art is, if anything, slightly against that, but in a way which works really quite nicely, because it shows that the world that they inhabit is so different than the down-to-earth expectations they have for their own life. I compared it to Martin Simmons. It's not quite that. Martin Simmons can take this stylized choices and make them really, really dark and horrific in Department of Truth, which is fantastic. This is more using a variety of colour palettes and layouts to really get across a mood and a vibe. It can go from like really rich neon glow kind of stuff of parties and everyone like engaging in this lifestyle and it becoming overwhelming and almost a battering to the senses, but then it can go like really soft and nice for moments of like intimacy and relaxation. And it goes kind of cold and sterile at times too when they're discussing things and trying to figure out the best solutions. All of this playing in with some fantastic artwork, really beautiful line work, and again the layouts which drag your eye around the pages. It is a fully fantastically well put together comic book. The way these guys work together is phenomenal. To get across this mood and this sense of story building as it does, with the twists in the tail that make it like an interesting narrative as well, and the fantastic characterization both through the writing and the artwork, it is amazing. I'm not going to lie though, it has made its way slightly higher into the list than I think it might have done because of my own personal interests, but I will also say, if you think this kind of thing doesn't affect you, if you don't really look at the capitalistic ideas and how it invades all of our lives, think about what this comic book is about. Is an app on a phone, this little bit of transhumanist magic most of us have in our pockets most of the time and spend hours a day looking at, that is controlled by capital. It is an interesting thing because it should and does make you think about how you're engaging with the world through this device. Genuinely lovely comic book, looks fantastic, absolutely check it out. I loved it. That's it from me for now though. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe thing, but until I see you again, look after each other everyone. Stay safe. Bye.